Chris Alford, a name synonymous with the sport of harness racing. And after his historic and unprecedented 8,000th career driving success, it was a perfect opportunity to catch up with the puppet and find out a little bit more about his career in the sport.
Barramack the favourite, making heavy weather of it. Aviro's wider. I'm Wesley's in front. The puppet goes to work looking for win number 8,000. Barramack and Auckland Red are trying hard. I'm Wesley's in front though, and he's done it. Alford for 8,000.
Well, Chris, I guess the best way to start this interview is by asking, why harness racing? What was it about the sport that drew you towards it, or did you not really have a choice like many of us?
Pretty much family. Started at Brid. My dad was a trainer and just got dragged out there on weekends, and when we moved to the farm where we are now, give him a hand and pretty much tried to sneak away as often as I could early, but yeah, started to like it and got right into it.
Do you have an earliest memory of harness racing, whether it was at a racetrack or at home aboard someone's lap having a drive around?
I just remember going to the showgrounds with Mum and Dad and having to sit on the sulky all night in the stalls and don't you move, and get a bucket of chips and a donut, and we were all happy.
Were you one of those horse mad kids, or was it something that grew on you?
Yeah, probably something that grew. I liked them, but didn't ever think of making a career out of it till later on.
What about as a kid? Other interests, sport?
Yeah, I played just football junior while I was at school, but as soon as I left school, Dad said you either do trots 100% or something else, so sort of lost all touch with all my friends and school friends and went and stayed on the farm for nearly 2 years before I went anywhere.
You obviously had a passion for horses. Was the thoroughbred industry something that you ever considered? I mean, you probably could have been a jockey if you'd wanted to go in that direction.
Not really. Dad did train a couple of gallopers later on, and I did track work and rode in a couple of picnic races at Woodend and had a first and a second, and I said I'm never doing that again, so just stuck to track work for a while.
So Chris, tell us about attaining your harness racing driving licence. When was that, and I guess what were your early success levels like?
Well, I left school when I was 14 and worked at the farm, track work, etc. Until back then you couldn't drive in the trials till you were 16, so start driving in the trials no, I don't think Dad let me because I was born in May, so I had to wait till the season started in September those days to wait till then to start driving at the trials, and then got my licence, started racing. My first drive I think was a average sixth, and then another bad one after that, and then went to Wangaratta and had 2 drives for 2 wins, and then about 2 days later had my first outside drive for an old guy, Mr. Bickerdike, and it won as well, so that got me started.
Can you tell us, do you remember the name of your first winner, and do you remember the race itself? Yeah,
like it was yesterday. It was just an old horse called Spring Vance, and I drew one at Wangaratta, which was a little 700 metre track, and I don't know if it was favourite or not, but Dad thought it could win, and drawn one, just lead all the way. Leaders won every race there nearly, and I don't know what I did. I must have crashed the gate or something and got crossed, and just in a panic the whole race till at the top of the straight the leader ran out and I got up the fence and won, so thank God.
Were you one of those, and I mean as unbiasedly as possible, and you'll probably be not in that way anyway, but were you one of those people that when you started there was, I guess, chatter that you had something, or did your dad think that you had a bit of ability, or did others around you, give you opportunities because you'd shown something?
It's hard to know. Dad always, didn't give a lot of praise, but he used to say to other people when I wasn't around, like we'd work 2 horses together, and whichever one I drove beat his one home. And it's funny, it mentioned Spring Vance. Peter Cakebread was at the trots last night, and Dad actually must have bought the horse off him, and he was telling me that he's talking and saying, I don't know what we bought this thing for. Every time I drive it, it's terrible, but every time Chris gets on it and works it, he beats me by 20 metres. So, might have been just one of those fluky things.
You mentioned that your dad had said you either go full-time and give this a really good go or do something else. Did you feel as though there was family support? Do you think he really wanted you to have a good go?
Oh, yeah, I think so. Once I started driving, he put me on pretty much every horse we had. So, without him, I wouldn't have got started at all.
So you go through the first few seasons, I'm sure, as a junior driver, and there's probably some ups and downs along the way, but was there a season or a time where things just started to happen? Well, Dad had some nice horses, no real great ones that I was driving at the time, like a few Metro ones and all that. But I think I'd been driving maybe 6 or 7 years, and one day out of the blue, Noel Alexander gave me a ring and wanted me to take over their stable driving, because I think he'd had a blue with Teddy and Gavin, and I said, yeah, that'd be great, and just went from there. And they started off, they didn't have a great team, but they had a lot of horses. But then, 1 year, I think the first year Golden Rain came along, and that just got everything flying. Back then, was it hard to make it as a junior driver? Did you need support from a bigger stable, or was there the opportunities, I guess, kind of like there is now?
No, not a chance. I think like John Caldo and I started off the same year, and when you drove 20 winners, you were done. That was it. So I think we were both done in like the first 8 months of our careers. So we were sort of put on the shelf, and we didn't have any. We might have had 1 or 2 junior driver races a year that were just for us. So we didn't get a lot of chances there. So it was more, trying to get a winner and get your name out there, and hopefully someone put you on. You
just mentioned Golden Rain. Everybody needs a horse to put them on the map, and he was clearly it for you. Yeah, for sure. I remember the year before Golden Rain, the same owners had a horse called Remo Gold, and I think I drove him early, and the owners didn't think I was good enough to go to Brisbane and drive him in the Gold up there. And then I think Noel put his foot down the next year and said, he's driving them all, and that was Golden Rain's year. What made him so special? Just his will to win. He just hated to lose. A bit like me, I hate to lose, but he was just so tough. He just I think the only times he got beat was when I just drove him too bad. Is there a race of his that stands out? Always the Inter-Dominion, but I think the 2 derbies he won at Moonee Valley, they were great. They were just, he did a lot of work. Shandon come and hammered him at the 1200 and just had too much speed for him and went straight past him, and he just kept knuckling down till he got past him again up the straight.
Master Musician running a bold race on the outside. He's joining Golden Rain. 4 metres away, Blossom Matey, followed by Chokin. Towards the 150, whips are cracking. Golden Rain a neck in front. Master Musician wearing him down on the outside. Golden Rain just in front. Master Musician is trying very hard. Golden Rain finding something, and he's got there. Golden Rain, what a champion, has won by a metre.
You mentioned the Inter-Dominion, and I think for anybody growing up in the sport, that's the pinnacle, and probably more so then than maybe now. But What was it like for you winning such a great race?
Still a bit of a blur, really, because we knew we had a great horse, and he won his first heat and he sat outside choking, and the crowd just went silent when he went past him, and no one could actually believe it because he was the pin-up horse. And then I think the second night he got flattened and ran last. So he had to win, I think, the last night, and he step parked and did that. And then, dreadedly, the marbles come out and we drew the outside gate in the final, and looked pretty dismal, but as history says, he got the job done.
Do you remember the build-up towards that, being on such a great horse in such a great race? Were you a nervous type back then?
Oh, terrible. I can't explain how sick I used to get before big races, but I think if you don't get nervous, you're not doing the job properly. And it's a long time ago now, but I remember probably not eating for a couple of days before. It just running the race, what was going to happen, and nothing that went how we thought it would. And my plan was always get up the front because that's how he loved it. But every time I went to go, 3 or 4 pulled out in front of him, and with the lap to go, he was last.
An amazing horse. Let's talk about a few other great horses in your career. Another that stands out, TaylorMade Lombo. What about her?
Yeah, no, she was a jet. She came over from Perth, and Noel did me over. He had a few in the Gold that year, and he made me drive another one called Gillette, and TaylorMade Lombo just flogged it, and he was just teaching me a lesson for something I'd done during the week. So after that, I got to drive her, and she just was a freak. She ran second in Christian Cullen in the Miracle Mile, but I think she might have even won 3 Tassie Championships and beat Courage Under Fire, House of Ancelot, horses that went on to be great stallions.
What was it about that era? Because when you speak of those horses and you're talking about horses that she beat, as if, they were champions themselves.
Oh, yeah.
Why? What was it about that era that made it so special? Was it how tough they were? Was it the racing calendar? What do you think?
I think a lot of horses get sold now and moved on, whereas back then people used to keep them. Just you get a good one, you just didn't want to let it go. And like I said, with that Golden Rain one, there were 6 horses that had won $1 million in that race, and that was 25, 30 years ago. So they seemed to be a lot harder. The racing was a lot harder then. There was so much more moves. Like nowadays, you get a spot. There's not really a horse good enough like a Golden Rain or a Lazarus that can go and sit parked and win the race. We've seen Larry, how great he is, but both times he's come down here and got parked, he's been beaten. So, the great horses are great, but they just don't seem to be able to do what the old-time ones did.
And it seemed as though that all of the best went to all of the different races too. Nobody dodged each other, and that's what made the racing so exciting. Yeah,
for sure. I think the year Golden Rain won the Inter, he won the Tassie Championship, the Vic Cup, the South Australia Cup, the Truant Memorial, ran 3rd in the Miracle Mile, and 3rd in the Hunter Cup. So, and virtually raced the same horses every time.
It seemed as though people were very much involved in harness racing back then at a different level, and to be able to race in those big races with the big crowds, it must have been special.
Oh, it was. The day at New Zealand was amazing, how many people were at Addington, and I think they virtually took Golden Rain as one of them after he won the final. No one was booing him or anything because it was just such a great horse.
Wider out of the track, Golden Rain is flat for Chris Alford. Chokin starting to come into it. Weona Warriors looking for the gap in the inside. Young Mr. Charles also. Wider out of the track, Desperate Comment. It's Victor Supreme. Here's Golden Rain coming again. Wider out to Chokin, further out to Desperate Comment. It's Golden Rain. Victor Supreme trying to hold it out. It's New South Wales has won the Inter Dominion. Golden Rain by a head.
You've mentioned Noel a few times already. What was that relationship like? Take us into the inner sanctum and tell us what it was really like.
They were always good to me, like very loyal. If they had a horse that came to the stables, I had to drive it. The owner couldn't say, put someone else on it, or he'd just say, well, take it somewhere else, which was, good. But I can't remember one night, it must have been a big night at Moonee Valley, and I got one beat early in the night, and he gave me a horrible pasting outside the driver's room and come out and won the next race. So he must have thought, oh, there's the trick. So every time I get beat, he'd give me a blast, and in the end it sort of wore a little bit thin, but made me stay right at the top of my game, I think. And in the end, they'd sort of backed right down, and I had an opportunity to drive for Clayton and Emma, and because the deal was if I drive Noel's horses, I drive every one, whether it's 100 to 1 and another drive was 10 to 1 on. And in the end, I just said to him, look, Noel, I said, I think you like it when I get beat now, so you can give me a blast to put on a show.
In terms of trainers, everyone's a little different in how they operate, and obviously it was a pretty hard school.
Oh, yeah.
Do you feel as though that made you a better driver, or did it make it more of a pressure situation?
A bit of both. I always felt that I went out there and did as good as I could. Sometimes his expectations were a bit over the top, I think, but I think it stopped me being a bit complacent. I think sometimes you can get a bit la-di-da and, oh well, drive's there next week, or I'm not so fussed. On
that though, were the wins as enjoyable, or was it more of a relief than anything else?
Enjoyable, but a lot of time relief, because they had some great horses going through the for those 8 to 10 years, whatever it was.
Another race that I'm sure sticks out is the Hunt Cup with Mont Denver Gold.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, no, that was pretty remarkable. My dad was pretty sick at the time, and still, helped train him at home and all that. But I think he came to our stable about June as a C2, 2-win horse out of maybe 15, 16 starts, and he just clicked when he got to home. Within 6 months, I think he won the Melton Plate. Yeah, as you said, he won the Hunter Cup. He'd only qualified from a stand that week to get a run, and second in the Dominion. But that night, everything just was perfect. The start, he nearly missed away, but he drew 7, so it wasn't jammed up, and just zoomed 3 back the fence, and he was just that fast. When he got the split at the top of the straight, he was just like lightning.
The Fall Guy led on the turn from Baltic Eagle. Unique Icon, JB's Flash, Mont Denver Gold. Turning for home, the Fall Guy, Baltic Eagle, Unique Icon. Mont Denver Gold gets out. Young Rufus struggles out wide. JB's Flash trying to get through. Challenges are coming. Baltic Eagle grabbed by Mont Denver Gold. Smooth Satin late. Mont Denver Gold hit the lead. Smooth Satin flying, but Mont Denver Gold won the Cup.
Is that what I guess stood him out in that era? Because still back then it was all about the toughest horse, but speed probably wasn't as prevalent. It was clearly his biggest asset.
Yeah, he couldn't even run off the gate and finish a race, so I think he drew 2 or 3 in the Vic Cup when he ran third and settled second last, because if you used him early, he just had no sprint at all. And I think when he won in the Dominion heat, he come from 3 or 4 back the fence, and even in the final he was 4 back the fence and ran second. But he was just electric off a sprint.
You mentioned that your father was quite unwell at that point in time. Can you describe to us the emotions? Because at that point in your career, you'd won so many big races already, but I'm sure that there was something a little different.
Yeah, it just was, just seeing him there. He made an acceptance speech, which was probably pretty bad to most people that were looking at it, but if you knew what he was going through and all that, it just brought a tear to your eye. I think I actually cried that night.
It must have been really tough losing him.
Oh, it was terrible. It's hard to explain.
It is hard to explain, but I'm sure that, I guess, your role in harness racing, every day you must think still about little memories of yourselves together.
Oh, for sure. Like I said to Alison the other day, I found an old double chain clip that we used to clip to the bit when we're leading one, out on the track. And I said, I reckon this clip was here when we first got the farm 40 years ago with Dad, so that's how old this clip is.
Yeah, amazing. Let's move along a little further, and I guess as much as you've won so many massive races, another feather in your cap was the 18-19 season when you drove 457 winners. Even when you say that now, I'm sure at the time you probably didn't realise how enormous that was, but quite an amazing number. Yeah,
no, pretty crazy. I don't even remember that year that much. Was just race, and had a lot of good horses to drive that year. And you think a win a day, and then that's nearly another 100 on top of that. Mind-boggling really. I was really proud for Nathan to get his 400, last year, and just know how hard he must be working in all the driving he's doing.
Was it something that you set out to do at the start of the year?
No, not really. I used to set goals like try and better the year before and whatever. Or I think it took me like 10 seasons to get to 100. So to get there, it was just pretty remarkable, really.
Was it after that you said, I'm never doing that again?
No, I would have loved to have done it again, but no, I just ran out of horsepower.
Let's talk about a few of the more modern day horses, so to speak, and I guess one that you were synonymous with was Lenny the Shark. Gosh, he was a good horse.
Yeah, he was great. You know, John had him as a 2 and 3 year old, and actually drove him in a derby heat here and won. And yeah, I think John was suspended, and then he won the New South Wales Derby and went a miss or something like that, and then somehow ended up with David. But I was lucky enough to get the drive with the Risley family, and yeah, he took us on a massive ride, yeah, everywhere and every big race, and he was a lot like Golden Rain. He just hated to lose.
Didn't look to be the easiest of drives at times, though.
Oh, he was pretty cool.
Left hand down,
yeah.
though. He was a funny horse, wasn't he?
He
like
was.
That?
He just liked to run up the track, and yeah, Ryan Sanderson was showing a video of they must have had a camera on the cart the night he won the one of his Vic Cups here, and I'm chasing him up, and I actually dropped the rein, and he just kept going because I dropped the one that he didn't need steering with.
But he went everywhere, didn't he?
He did.
And just that style. And we talk of eras, and you look at some of the horses that he beat, they were modern day greats. And
yeah.
and there's, I don't know if he got the praise that he deserved, Lenny.
He probably didn't. Like, you think he won an Inter Dominion, he won a Miracle Mile. Sat parked and did both. Like, he had Lazarus on his back in the Miracle Mile when he won, so that was no mean feat. And I think the year before he just lost by a nose, going 47. So, and the good thing with him was he was just so casual. He'd just sit parked and just pop along till you said, get going.
Lazarus and our Waikiki Beach are trying to wind up. The leader narrowly is Lenny the Shark. Smolder and Lazarus, they're trying to close, but Lenny's trying to lift. Here's Smolder on the inside. Lenny the Shark and Smolder. Lenny's just in front. I think he might have got there. Lenny the Shark a nose to Smolder.
Came to the outside, Franco Ledger. Lenny the Shark in front. He's flat on the turn, he hung out. Flaming Flutter comes, Kian Cullen, 5-star Anvil, Franco Ledger come home. He lifts though, Lenny the Shark. Lenny the Shark and Alford clear from Flaming Flutter, and Lenny the Shark wins it. Lenny the Shark first, win number 5,500 for Alford.
Another, I'm sure, very important win in your career, and an important horse, Wobbly.
Yeah, he was great for us. Very quirky and difficult horse to work. Would never work on his own, always had to have a partner, always had to warm up behind another horse or he just wouldn't move, and stupid things like that. But his 2-year-old year was just remarkable. I think he won 5 Group 1s that year.
So you're so busy with driving, and yourself and Alison have your own team. Why?
Always just looking for that next Wobbly.
Yeah, and how did he come into your state?
Just Colin Murphy, the guy who bred him. We'd had a couple of horses previous to him, and they all won without being really good. But when he first trialled, he came here and he ran a mile in 5, and something sat outside him and beat him. Oh, well, at least he's going to make the races, and he just kept getting better and better. And like I said, we just, you know, we got Sleepy, I think, the next year, and she won the Breeders' Crown as a 2-year-old, and had a few since then that haven't been quite as good, but he gave us Grumpy, and we leased him, and he won a cup race the other day, so always looking for the next champion, I guess.
Grumpy starting to come late. Sangreal further back. Baltica being tackled by Grumpy. Baltica and Grumpy. Grumpy's going home over the top of him, and Grumpy gets home in a Wedderburn Trotters Cup from Baltica's second.
What about trotters? And when we talk about a lot of your very best horses you've dealt with, they've been paces.
Yeah.
What is your opinion of trotters? Do you enjoy them as much as paces? Is it something that's grown on you throughout your career?
No, mainly through Dad. He started off with Graham Lang, who was a genius with trotters, and Dad always had, you know, Noopy Kiosk and Dark Edge and Fiona's Flair and a lot of really good trotters. And I think at home even nowadays we probably have more trotters than paces, so it's challenging, but when you get a good one, it's well worth it.
Speaking of good ones, Queen Elida.
Yeah.
Isn't she just an amazing horse, and I think our expectations of her are just so high now. Where did she really come from? Because she came across from New Zealand. Were you always, I guess, lined up with her, and has she completely surprised you?
No, Lil's always liked her. I think her first start she drew 1 here and she was favourite and she got crossed and couldn't trot properly and ran 4th or 5th, so she's not much good. And then she gradually got a little bit better. I think she led in the Breeders' Crown and stopped and went terrible, but found out later that she was sick. And then as a 3-year-old, she got a bit better. She won the Oaks at Ballarat, but she was going to get beaten, and the thing that passed her galloped, and she kicked back and won. But then as a 4-year-old, she just went to another level, and she's like the smoothest trotter you could ever drive, and just a snap speed. She probably wasn't at her best in Queensland and a couple of runs back here, but I think her run the week before the Southern Star, she felt back.
Good. Queen Elida, everything against her and absolutely kills them.
Well, in terms of her 2024 season, we know that she's going to New Zealand for the new trot slot race. Is she as good a trotter as we've got? Maybe we know Just Believe is an absolute champion, and she's often been there with him. Is she still on the up? Because she is only, I think, it just turned 6-year-old.
Yeah, I think so. As you said, Just Believe, he's a champion, and I don't know if I've beaten him home yet, but I'm trying. I'm not going to give up till we do. But I think, all things equal, I'm pretty sure she can match it with him.
Metro. Into the straight they come, though, and it's Just Believe going for the $1 million mark. He's 2 metres in front of the Queen. It's Just Believe in front, though. Just Believe, it's the king from the Queen. Just Believe is $1 million man. Just Believe beat Queen Elida.
What about Aldebaran Zeus? This is the last horse I'll talk to you about, but another up-and-coming trotter who's got great speed, and that Group 1 where he won at Menangle was so deserved in that open company because that was just his wheelhouse. But he as well just looks like a beautifully gaited horse. He's the epitome of a great square gaiter. Yeah,
he is. He's done it right from I think his first trial. He just was awesome, and he's gone, as you said, he went to Menangle and went 52, and he is a great short horse, but he did lead and win 2,700 metre race here, and took us to Yonkers for the international trot, which was a great thrill. He probably wasn't at his best. If he was at his complete best with the run he had, he probably would have run 3rd, I'd say. And he's just got back to Lil's now. He's not looking so great, but they'll look after him, get him back to where he was. Tell us about that Yonkers trip, because everybody wants to represent their country, and there's probably not a great deal of opportunity in our sport to do that, and you've been able to on a few occasions, and I have a feeling that you're a bit of a fan of American racing too. So what was that like at this point in your career? It was a huge thrill. When Duncan asked me, because I wouldn't have been shocked if they wanted to get an American driver, to drive him, because I'd never raced there, and Duncan said, and Lil's, that if he goes, I go. So, just there and just to watch, get to those tracks. I said to Nifty, he knows how good all those horses are, where Zeus was staying. I said, when we drew 7, he said, oh, that's pretty bad. And I said, well, don't bull crap me. I said, what would you expect if this was your horse? And he just said, you can't go off the gate, that's too quick, you'll run 27, 3 and 4 wide. He said, just look for shortcuts. If you have any luck, you can run top 5 and you've done a great job, and that's what he did. In terms of American racing, I think a lot of people look to it as probably the epitome of our sport, but I think Aldebaran Zeus's performance and others that we've seen in the last few years prove that we're not that far behind them anymore. No, a lot of our trotters have gone there and done really well. I think Anton sold one over there that... Majestic Play? Yeah, that one. He did a great job, and as you said, Zeus, and I'm sure our best ones, I'm sure if, Queen Elida was right and she had the run Zeus had in that race, she would have nearly picked him up. In terms of the North American harness scene, and now we've seen the likes of Andy and Todd McCarthy and Dexter go over there, is that something that you would have loved to do? I was probably never really had the right time of my life to do it because, you know, you try and get going, so you just battle away. And then, of course, Noel and Jane came along, so I was tied up there for a long time, and then I was with Clayton and Emma for a lot of years after that. So I never really had the time. If I was, you know, single or whatever, like Dexter and Toddy and that were at the time, would have been nice to have a shot. But you know, I'm happy I stayed home.
Speaking of, I guess, your whole career and family, we've discussed that already, but your wife Alison, she's an absolute legend, and she's no doubt the backbone of everything that you do.
Yeah, pretty much. If wasn't for her, I wouldn't be able to do what I do. She organises everything at home, organises the kid, organises the stables, works at the stables, does all the bookwork. I just go and drive horses around.
What does she say in the background about how many hours you do? And I guess she's used to it now, but has there ever been a point in time when she said, hang on, Chris, maybe you've got to come to this dance concert or this pony club occasion, or has it always been she's completely supportive of what you do?
No, always supportive of when I go and race. More so if I'm not racing, it's you should be at Pony Club today or at Sam's Cricket, but it makes it hard sort of when you got stuff to do at home. And then, you know, I like going watching Sam play cricket. Pony Club is okay for half an hour or so, but yeah, the kids love what they do, and I'm sure further down the track I'll get a bit more time.
What about the kids, Chris? Is their love for harness as deep as yours was, or is there other things that have sort of taken their interest?
No, well, Sam's all cricket and football. He did pony trots for a little while, but he didn't really like the work part. He just liked the jumping on, driving, winning a race and jumping off again.
Typical freelance driver, right?
That's it. That's the way we do it. Katie's more ponies, Pony Club and all that. And Maggie, she's a vet nurse and lives down the other side of Melbourne. She comes to the races and gives me a hand, but yeah, not too much into the trots.
So do you think any of them are drivers in waiting, or?
No, I don't think so. I think they've got other agendas.
And how do you feel about that?
No, I'm quite happy. It's a very hard lifestyle. Been good to me. I don't complain, but starting off now, like the industry hasn't probably progressed how everyone would have liked, and very hard to make a living out of it, you know, full time. A lot of people that drive have other jobs and stuff like that. Like most of the junior drivers have their income from driving, but they also work for a trainer as well. So.
Had some great competitors, Chris, but probably one stands out more than others, and that was that of the competitiveness between yourself and Gavin Lang. I guess you were both right at the top of your game for a long time, yeah. But what was it about that?
Yeah, it's hard to know. Like growing up, before I started driving, Dad used to put Gavin on when he was suspended, and he used to come to our farm and go to the track with him, and everything was good there for a while, and then not long after I took over driving for Noel and Jane, one night at Ararat, he had a bit of a brain fade or something happened, and ended up giving me a bit of a fright, and ended up with 8 weeks suspension, and then we just had wars for, oh God, things we used to get up to on the track, just nearly killing each other for a few years now, and then we never spoke, you know, just didn't even acknowledge each other, whatever. And then just one day, I think it must have been Kilmore Cup Day, and I was going to New Zealand with Mont Denver Gold the next day, and he must have had something about Maori, I think, in the Trotters race that Ashburton. He just come up and said, oh, what are you doing tonight with the airport? So I'm just driving from Kilmore. He said, oh, can I get a lift with you? And ever since then we were best buddies again until he unfortunately passed on.
Isn't that amazing though? But there's something, it's a strange industry in the fact that you're expected to be friends, or you are friends with your biggest competitors, and if you're winning then they're not. It's a little odd in that respect, isn't it?
It is, yeah, very. But I think I've come to the point now where I used to get dirty when other people would win races and I wouldn't, but now when someone else is having a great run, I'm just really happy for them, just because I know how hard it is to win. And like I was trying to get before I got to 8,000, I thought I had a race won, and Greg just dropped off on the band, and I kicked away. I thought, oh, I've got it, and then he just toddled on past me after. I said, oh, good on you, mate, well done.
In terms of, I guess, injuries and struggles along the way, it's, I guess, hand in hand with the sport. Has there been anything of significance that's, I guess, I'm sure there's always been setbacks, but has there ever been a point in time where you thought, hang on, this is maybe not what I want to be doing?
No, not really. I've been pretty lucky with falls. I think the worst injury I had was I broke my arm when I was driving one at home. And it kicked the reins out of my hand and was just going flat out and was about to head off the track. So I went, yeah, right. I bailed off and broke my wrist. But I had a lot of bruises, cracked ribs and stuff like that. But touch wood, been very lucky with bad injuries.
Your longevity in the sport is something to be admired, and I guess your continued work ethic. What do you put that down to?
Just a good grounding from my dad. That's all. If you're not going to do it properly, you may as well get another job.
In this day and age, there is so much travel involved, and it's not a simple case of travelling one day and then having the next off.
Yeah.
How do you do it?
No, just used to it. I've been doing it, as you said, a long time now, and I can just jump in the car and drive for hours without bothering me.
You've had opportunities, though, where it would have been easy to say, oh, I'm interstate tonight, I probably can't make it tomorrow, but you do. Why?
Just like winning races and not letting people down. They're good enough to put you on their horse. You've got to make that effort.
There's some great stories about some cars that you've had along the way and the kilometres that they've done. What is your most loyal servant on the road?
Was my Hilux till about three or 4 months ago. I wanted to get it to 1 million and I got it to 780 and all was going well, never had a problem, and then I filled it up with petrol one day instead of diesel and cooked the engine. So.
No coming back from that?
Oh, it's still a farm car.
In terms of being out on the road, though, we see you going to all these different race meetings, but there must be some nights when it's past midnight and you're driving home and you're probably dodging kangaroos along the way as well. That's probably a part of the sport that not a lot of people see.
No, that's right, and the roads are so bad at the moment. Does get a bit annoying, but I just listen to books and stuff like that to keep me concentrating and just toddle home. So
you're not one of those people that call everyone in your contact list? You've got another process to get you to and from race meetings?
No, I just listen to audio books and they get you by and really make the time fly, actually.
Pre-driving to the races, though, you drive in so many races. What is your form process now? Or is it a case that you've been in so many races, you see these horses, trainers, drivers week in and week out? Do you not have to spend hours behind a computer screen?
No, truthfully, I don't have to do that, look at trials and stuff. I sort of can look at a field as soon as it's done and know half the things that might happen in that race. And then I have a form guy does all the trials and stuff. I just ring him on the way to the track and we'll discuss what he thinks of my horse, other horses in the race, trials, etc. And he writes me out a summary for each race, what he thinks, and we go from there.
Now for some hard questions. If you thought the questions before were hard, we've got some more coming. The best horse you've ever been associated with?
Oh, can I have two?
You can have two.
Yeah, Golden Rain and Lenny.
Golden Rain and Lenny? Yeah. Why?
Because they made me look good.
They were just that rough and tough style of horse.
Yeah. Didn't have to worry about luck or stuff like that. They could just make their own.
The most special race that you've won, it might be the biggest, or the most special?
I have to say that Hunter Cup with Mont Denver Gold.
What about any regrets in this sport? Is there anything that you wish that you had done or wish that you didn't do?
I wish I didn't use a cracker at Bathurst one night. We just finished racing in New Zealand with Golden Rain in the Inter, and I had a cracker on the end of the whip that I had and raced at Bathurst. And when we pulled up, I think it was Darren Hancock said, because in those days they used to check your whips, And he said, "Oh, don't let them see that. They'll fine you $100." I said, "Oh, righto." So I took it off, put it in my pocket, and then I only ran second, got beat by 20 and 20 back to third, so I don't think I even turned the whip around. But about 2 races later, the stewards called me in and said, "Oh, you had a cracker on that whip in race such and such." I said, "Oh, yeah, no worries." And they said, "Wasn't there when you weighed in?" I said, "Well, I took it off and put it in my pocket." So 8 weeks, here you go.
Really?
Oh, yeah, deceiving the stewards. So I learned my lesson. Don't tell lies to the stewards.
Have you ever had any other run-ins like that along the way?
No, been good since.
No crackers. Roger, got that one. What about, I guess, weird or wonderful things that have happened on a racetrack? Things, well, one happened pretty recently.
Yeah, no, that was pretty awkward. Yeah, like you said, I was just in front 50 metres ago and the bridge snapped and wheels went sideways and I ended up sitting on the ground.
The top of the straight, got the pitter of Watch the Attitude boxing on Mary Austin, running on up the inside, Rock and Roll Opal, further out Snazola and Eastbro Daisy Park Lane in front, but he's flat and the song, he's collapsed through on the inside, Watch the Attitude, Snazola deep out, Snazola's won it.
There's always something happening on a racetrack, isn't there? And there's probably so many along the way that you wouldn't even remember.
Yeah.
One thing that you've managed to achieve in your longevity is the 8,000 victory mark. And I guess when you look back, I think your Twitter handle might still be 5,000, is it? So back at that point, did you ever think 8,000 was attainable?
No, not even a chance. I think we were on the World Driving Championship with Timmy Tetrick and that, and they said, "Oh, you got to get on this Twitter thing," and I don't even know what that is, and they set it up for me, and they were trying to think of a name, and they asked me how many winners I'd driven. I said, about 5,000, and they said, "Oh, I'll make it Chris Alford 5,000." So I just never thought it'd get much further than that. What
about in this world of social media? It's a whole different world. Do you subscribe to any of it? Do you look at it? Do you, if you think, "Oh, that didn't go to plan," you stay off it? Or what's your perception of social media and I guess its role in the world now?
Yeah, I like it because they have a lot of American stuff on there. I like watching all that, and even from France and whatever. You get a lot of bad stuff on Messenger and stuff like that. I'll be coming home and I'll get an abusive message from someone, and if I'm bored, I'll just write back and give them a bit back. So,
but it doesn't affect you?
No. Well, I've had plenty of abuse over the years, so it just rolls off the back.
Is it tough for kids starting out in the industry these days? I'm sure that you had a lot more in-person advice back in those days, but it's a different world now. Do you think it's something that we probably need to take into consideration a little more?
Yeah, I do. Like back in the day at Moonee Valley and Harold Park, they used to stand above the bridge and yell and scream and carry on and whatever, but now some of the things they say on Twitter and Messenger and that are pretty horrible. So unlike me, a lot of people probably take it to heart, which can end up being pretty bad. So I don't know how you fix it, but yeah, it's not very nice. You think, what sort of people are these?
We've moved into this era of a lot of people watching from home and bigger tracks. You've had good success at Menangle, but it's a lot different to what you came through the sport doing. Do you think we've moved in the wrong direction?
Not so much with the tracks. I think it's more moving out of the city areas that they've hurt. Moonee Valley and Harold Park, they were just great, right in the middle of the city. Wasn't hard to get there, pretty hard to get out to Melton and Menangle. I think that's the thing that sort of, and as you said, TV and phones and everything, you don't even have to be on track.
If I was to ask you, where is Chris Alford in 10 years' time from now? Where would you like to see yourself? Where do you think you'll be?
I'll probably still be at Belinda, I'd say. Pottering around, hopefully slowed down a bit with the driving and enjoying it a bit more, not running around everywhere and having just a bit more time for things that I want to try and do, like potter around the farm and stuff like that.
Is there a number in mind?
No, just chip away till we get done.
So there's nothing that you've achieved so much in the sport now, there's nothing that when you got to a point you would say, okay, that's enough, you're still enjoying it?
Oh yeah, I just love winning races, whether it's, it's great to win big races, but You know, I drove a winner, 2-year-old filly for a guy that's been training for 7 years, and I think he's trained 2 winners or something. And then we had to survive a protest as well, so he was so relieved and so happy. It's just, you know, just to win a race, it's a great feeling.
Is there one race that you haven't won that you want to?
Great Southern Star would be nice.
There's something special about that concept, isn't there?
Yeah, it's good. You know, I think Queen ran 3rd or 4th last year when she was not 100%, and I think Wobbly got beaten by a half head by Majestic Wosa. So we've had a close go, but not quite got there. So hopefully we get there soon.
When you do decide it's time to wrap up your driving career, and I'm sure you're still going to be involved in some way or another, what do you want to be remembered for?
Mainly not my practical jokes with everyone. Mainly for probably being a fair competitor with no dirt in me.